There is a science to an effective shop layout and range, getting that customer flow just right. The supermarkets spend many hours fine-tuning optimum models for their stores, but in reality, a basic tried and tested layout formula is pretty much replicated across most supermarkets. Starting with a fruit and veg aisle for a colourful and attractive display, through ambient and frozen, with alcohol typically in the last aisles. Unfortunately though, most village shops can't mirror this because the majority just aren't large enough or in square purpose-built boxes. With many village shops operating from a front room, a series of rooms, or an extension to a residential property, getting layout right for many retailers can be challenging.
So you're changing the layout of the shop and you're changing what you've got in your shop. And the other one is just freshening it up, of course. Things get tired and look a little tatty. So twice now we've refurbished the shop. It clears the floors up and it gets everything looking a lot fresher, which is very nice. People always remark on that when they come in. Wow, here's a nice, fresh-looking shop.
Shop layout for village retailers often means a compromise between stock and space. Achieving the optimum layout that can be created without sacrificing too much range or shelf space is vital. Space gives for a more pleasant shopping experience and the opportunity for increased impulse sales, so a balance needs to be found. Aisle widths should ideally be at least 1 metre wide. A space behind the counter of 1.2 metres is ideal, but it's not always possible.
Putting products in the right place can really increase sales. One basic principle is to have impulse purchases like confectionery and crisps in a high traffic area where customers can pick them up as an impulse treat or as a little gift. In this shop we've got confectionery all the way along through to crisps directly opposite the shop counter where every customer is bound to see them. An excellent display in a great location.
Fitting a camera to shoppers has enabled us to see what they focus on and how much of the product range they take in.
Yeah, I actually bought a little bit more, but it was things that I would need tomorrow anyway. So, yeah, but most of it's what I buy most weeks.
Promotional activity is an important part of improving impulse sales and increasingly anticipated in a consumer's everyday shop. A high percentage of overall supermarket and convenience store sales are from products that are on promotion. That could be a discounted price, price-marked packaging, meal deal, or buy one, get one free.
Promotional activity is really important for today's retailers. It's not about selling things cheap, it's about creating a positive price perception for your store. Because if you can demonstrate good value for your customers, they're likely to trust you and likely to shop more with you. Promotions can be time-consuming to do, and obviously you can have a drop in margin, but it can help really drive sales. And if you can use effective point-of-sale material and cherry-pick those promotions from your wholesaler or cash and carry, then it's really important to do that.
Product placement within the layout is really important to help maximise sales. There are typically two main types of shopper for a convenience store. Customers that want a quick and convenient experience, perhaps it's a trade person who pops in for a paper, drink and a sandwich. And then there's the more traditional, purposeful basket shopper that has more time and has come shopping with a list of items they need. In a compact space, this isn't always easy, but zoning categories for the separate types of shoppers can be effective and speed up transaction times, especially in busy periods. Milk, which will potentially be the most frequently purchased product, should ideally be at the back of the shop to drag customers further into the grocery area, whereas confectionery and wine and beer do well at the front of the store near the counter. Getting layout right is not always easy, and it's best to draw out a few scenarios on paper first.
First refit made quite a difference. We had about a 10 or 15% uplift on the first refit because we made some quite significant changes, I think. We added quite a lot more chilled on that refit. Our second refit last year, 2012, was more about maintaining what we already had. I wasn't budgeting for an increase in turnover at that point. For me, it was about having got up to another level to maintain that for the future. In the event, I think we've probably got about a 4 or 5% uplift, which for me is just an extra bonus.
It's not just where a product is positioned that drives sales, but equally how it's presented. Whether it's a window feature or just a standard tinned grocery display, product placement is key.
In the context of a village shop, merchandising is all about how we influence our customers, how we help them to determine what and how much they buy. We're going to look in this shop at ways that you can, as retailers, influence that purchasing decision. We're going to look at some of the ways that you can encourage them to buy what you want them to buy. If I were to be looking at the merchandising within the shop, one of the first things we look at is the decompression zone. This is the first meter within a shop where customers adjust to this. There's a step here, the lighting's different, the temperature's different, I might be shaking out a brolly. Very important to leave this area as clear as possible. The next thing we'd look at would be the primary sight lines. So we're looking to see what the customer's first sight lines will be within the shop. They want to know where the counter's going to be, where they're going to end their journey, and they want to then look at their various products, their staples around the shop. They want to know where the bread and the milk are. We're going to just have a look around as if this was my eye view. So if we were to look round the top there, this is what your customer will see, and I do encourage you to stand at the door and actually look. And this is a very nicely displayed ambient range here. We're just going to talk through some of the features that have gone into making this look good and encouraging the customer to buy from this shelving unit. You can see that the shelves have been adapted to the type of products that the retailer wanted to put on them. You would be amazed at how many the shelf is static and the products therefore don't fit the shelving. These are standard units. This is Tego metal and it works like Meccano. All the shelves can move on their slots. So if you're starting from scratch, start at the bottom and adjust the shelving height according to what product ranges you want to put on those shelves so that you don't have any space. You can't sell thin air is an old retail adage, and therefore you don't want space in between. So you've started at the bottom and you've built up your display. You're working in vertical blocks, so we tend to think within a metre run and try to block your products along and then along the next shelf rather than running horizontally all the way along the top shelf.
Displays should naturally merge into each other, grouping complementary categories together. For example, all baking foodstuffs should ideally be grouped or categorised together. This helps shoppers to get all the ingredients they need. There will inevitably be some product split, as perhaps standard sugar is better placed with teas and coffees, for example. But on the whole, the main categories should complement each other. Customers don't really want to find household products next to fresh or tinned groceries, as they wouldn't typically put them together in their cupboards at home. Deciding how much room to give to each category is also a really important consideration.
Over the years, sales of traditional grocery lines such as cans and packets have tended to decline in rural shops. This trend means that you need to be aware of how much space you're devoting to these ranges and where you're siting them. In this shop, there's only a limited display of, in this case, canned desserts, and they are located on the bottom shelf right towards the back of the shop, exactly where they should be. These days, customers expect to find a good range of local products in their shops, and in this shop, they certainly find it. Here's an excellent display of locally produced eggs, right around the corner, hand-picked by one of the members of staff that work here. Sited right next door to the home baking section, exactly where it should be. And again, home baking has got local flour produced at Tetbury, just about 5 miles down the road.
Category management can be as simple or as sophisticated as a retailer's needs. It's not really how it's done that's important, but that the data is analysed and acted upon. A traditional electronic cash register with department buttons should be utilised to its fullest to realise the sales across at least 10 main category areas, including tobacco, confectionery, snacks, news and non-VAT grocery. By simply breaking down sales across the departments and monitoring those levels on a spreadsheet, retailers will have a much better handle on range and stock levels.
How you use your available space is obviously very important. It can be quite difficult to compare unlike products, so for example comparing the space devoted to toilet tissue versus the space devoted to biscuits. But within a broad category, space should reflect the amount of sales that you're achieving. In this example, we've got an off-licence section with beer, cider and wine. So the space devoted to the 3 separate categories is likely to be on balance in line with the sales figures. So here we've got a shelf of cider and beer, another shelf at the bottom with 2 shelves of wine in the middle. And within that, the space devoted to white wine, red wine and rosé again should broadly reflect the sales pattern.
Shops with electronic point of sale known as EPOS will be able to analyse data in more sophisticated ways than those using traditional tills, although this will very much be based on the software you use and the time you spend analysing the information. EPOS can be a big investment for stores, and many retailers that have it don't use it to its full potential.
So this is a Pico handheld scanner, which is linked up to our back office EPOS system. At the minute I'm in an order mode, so when I scan a barcode, it'll tell me what the case size is when I last ordered it. If I want to, I can look into the sales of that particular product, see the rate of sale over the last few weeks, and then I can just choose how many I want to order. It also tells me obviously what I've got in stock, so it's a good opportunity to double check at a glance if the sort of stock on the shelf is accurate to the stock on the gun. EPOS is one of the most important investments we've made in the business since we've been here. I think it's very hard to monitor, does it pay for itself, but I think just with knowing that your prices are accurate alone is the foundation with EPOS, and then from there these other benefits of your stock control, stock management, identifying shrinkage is much easier with EPOS, so it has a number of benefits.
It's not necessarily just about stock and ordering, it's about bestseller lists and worst sellers as well. And being able to really look at your data and interrogate your data down into really good detail. But one thing I would say is that EPOS can be very expensive. Unless you're really going to use it, it can just turn into a very expensive beeping machine.
In this film, we took you on a journey of how to display and manage your stock, looking at shop layout, promotional activity, merchandising, and how to manage categories and use data. In our last film of the series, we look at staff, stock, profitability, and then take a look at how to reduce energy costs and be sustainable for the future. For more details on the Store is the Core programme, visit storeisthecore.org.uk.